evening, folks. We'll call the meeting for August 4th, 2020 of the Warrenton Board of Aldermen to order. One note that we wanted to remind everyone to keep your mask on through the entire meeting. We would appreciate that very much. The meeting we're having tonight, the mayor is ill at home, and I am Gary Miller. I am president of the Board of Aldermen, so I'll be filling in for the mayor tonight. So with that being said, let's move on to if there's anyone that wants to join via the Zoom meeting. The phone number is 312-626-6799. Our meeting ID number is 956-274-8536. Okay. We'll stand, if you would, and we'll do a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first thing on the agenda is the consent agenda.
First item we have is the regular meeting minutes of July 21st, 2020. We have the liquor license renewals for 2020-2021 in the amount of $10,687.50. And we award the pipe supply bid for Lakeview Water Main Project to Ford and Main in the amount of $11,511.63. The low bid budget amount for that project was $19,000.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion to accept the consent items as read.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made. Who seconded it? You did.
But I didn't touch my speaker on, so I don't know if it's official or not.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Deloy is absent. Alderman Deloy is absent. Alderman Schultz is absent. Alderman Crump.
Yes.
Alderman Dyer.
Yes.
Alderman Ock.
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes. Passed 4-0. Okay, the next item we have on the agenda is liquor license. I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyone from the public would like to come forth and comment on anything, come to the podium and state your name, and you'll have 5 minutes. Okay, seeing no one, we'll move on to Board of Aldermen comments.
I would just like to remind the public that if you have not returned your 2020 census form, there will be someone knocking on your door before too long. Please be kind to that individual. This is a tough time for people to be knocking on doors, but you do need to know that completing the census really does help our community thrive in a lot of different ways. And if you're interested in any of the 50 ways that it can help you, go to census.gov, and there is a listing of all the things that it will help our community and the surrounding area with different programs and things that will help the public improvement. So that's all I have.
Thank you. The next item is the mayor's comments, which he's not here. So we'll move forward. The items move from consent agenda. The first item we have is liquor by the drink license renewal for Blue House Productions LLC located at 112 East Boones Lake.
Gary, I think we can do both of them together.
Okay. The second one is the original packaged liquor for Mama's Cupboard LLC located at 202 East Boones Lake.
These are both new businesses applying for new licenses. It was the Bellstar Theater, is the Blue House Productions, and then Mama's Cover.
Okay.
Make a motion that we approve the liquor licenses presented by the mayor.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Dyer. Roll call vote.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Crump.
Yes. Passed 4-0. Next is Terry Thornton, City Administrator. She is sick tonight. Do you have anything, Brandy?
Yes, I do. The first thing that we were going to talk about is the EDC update from the Greater Warren County EDC. And I wanted to let you guys know that Terry and I are both on their board now. And Dr. Klingensmith is currently their new president. And you guys have all the previous meeting minutes, the financials, and their new council board in your Dropbox.
Did we had a discussion about being on the board. Did we get our 2 positions on the board, or are they elected board members yet?
Yes, we got both positions on the board.
Anyone else? Any questions, comments? Okay, operational updates.
I don't have anything, but I'm going to let Lieutenant Unger tell you about something that's going on in the PD.
All right. The only thing I have for you is just some communication, just to kind of keep you guys informed and updated. I was contacted by a citizen that plans to do a peaceful demonstration on August 8th at 11:30 a.m. And all this young lady wanted to do is communicate with me and let the police department know that they would be within our jurisdiction. This is a convoy demonstration where they will be in vehicles. They're going to paint up the sides of their cars. They're going to meet up at Kroger, the old Kroger lot, at 11:30. And then they've got a route that is basically going to take them west down Main Street. They're going to hit the South Service Road, continue west, and they're going to go up past Rural King, hit the roundabouts, come back east on the service road, and eventually cross back over 47 to Wright City, loop around to Marthasville, and then eventually come right back up and conclude where they began at the old Kroger lot. So this is 5 to 7 vehicles. Their messages, I did a little research here. This is called Let Her Speak. That the event's purpose, basically, they're just wanting to spread the word about libertarian parties and to increase awareness, and peacefully gather in their vehicles to respect any COVID-19 restrictions. And they just kind of want the country to know that they are bigger and a little more diverse than realized. So they want to be heard. So they were kind enough to reach out to the police department and just let us know. She's got my contact information should they need anything from the police department. But other than that, we have no other direct involvement, just communication.
Justin, I assume she did the same for the Warren County Sheriff's Department, since they will be leaving city limits and going south.
She did.
She did,
Within
okay.
her initial correspondence, she communicated with myself, Wright City, and Warren County. I don't know if they responded, but I did to get some specifics. So
Good.
she did communicate with all law enforcement agencies out of some respect of just letting us know.
Good deal. I have a question. I was kidding about rapid fire questions.
That's okay.
Since the chief wasn't here. I just have a question about the police department, as well as all of our departments, seem to be dramatically under budget. I'm sure COVID has something to do with that. But I noticed that in the report it mentions staffing. Are we still short some police officers?
We are not. The police department's looking really good to where we are able to activate different units, and all of our entire rotation on each end, everyone is fully staffed right now.
Good. Thanks for all you guys
Yes, ma'am.
do. We
You're welcome.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lieutenant. Thank you. Okay, Brandy, we have you as the next item on roof replacement bid.
Yes, sir. The roof replacement bid is for hail damage from the storm that we had back in March. So this was an insurance claim. The bid came in from Steve Contractors. That's who we're recommending, for $158,488. The insurance has already paid $138,576.87 towards that. Of that, we have a $5,000 deductible, and we also have $30,965 that is currently in recoverable depreciation once we get this completely finished. So I'm just asking for your approval for this bid for the $158,488.
Brandy, we only had 2 companies that wanted to bid this roofing project.
Yes.
No one
that's all we got.
local was interested in bidding on this, huh? Oh, okay.
Do we know anything about the company that we are going to be approving? Have we done some research on them?
I believe that John Struckoff, he's been helping me with this whole project, and I believe that he has done some research on them.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Then I'll entertain a motion to accept the low bid of $158,576. $488, I'm sorry. Okay. The bid of $158,488. We'll accept the motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion to pay the bill to this company. What's the name of the company?
Steve Contractors.
Amount of $158,488. Roll call vote.
Alderman Ock.
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes.
Alderman Crump.
Yes.
Alderman Dyer.
Yes.
Okay. The next item agenda is trash contract.
So tonight I wanted to bring to your attention, as some of you may be aware, I think some of you might have been copied on some emails, with our trash contract is currently through Meridian, and it expires December 31st, 2021. However, I wanted to bring to your attention, we have had approximately 61 complaints on them since January. Multiple complaints, whether trash is not being picked up or it's not delivering totes, or there's multiple weeks that they're not picking up at the same locations. So this being said, our staff is spending a tremendous amount of time fielding these phone calls because they're not answering their customer service line, and the staff is having to follow up to make sure that people are getting called back or the problems are getting taken care of. So I wanted to just bring this to your attention to see how you guys wanted us to handle this, if you wanted to continue the contract or if you wanted to end the contract. The contract is up. We can give a 60-day notice, so if we gave it on October 1, the contract would end December of this year. I wanted to also let you know I have reached out to them multiple occasions, 4 different occasions. I've sent them emails and said, how can we fix these problems moving forward? Because they do respond when there is an issue. However, we're not getting anything fixed going forward. So I've reached out to them and asked them that. I have yet to have that conversation or get an answer back on that. However, yesterday, Natalie informed me that they were going to show up at the meeting tonight. So they are here. So I just wanted to know how you guys want to move forward with this, because that's a lot of complaining.
Would someone from Meridian like to come forward to the podium and to address what our Director of Operations have just said?
Yeah, while they're doing that, I'd also like to echo, I get a lot of complaints from people in the ward. You drive down our street after the trash truck has been there, it looks like a bomb went off because the trash cans are just literally thrown everywhere. They're laying in the street, they're laying down, they're not placed properly, and that's a constant issue, and I do get a lot of complaints.
Good evening, board and staff. My name is Bob Mathis. I'm area president for Meridian Waste. First, I'd like to apologize to Brandy. She is right. We have not communicated very well as a group. We've had multiple changes since the first of the year through our personal staff here in St. Louis. We've had 30-some employees that we were proactive in doing a COVID leave when an employee approaches our general manager and says, I don't feel good today. We take that very serious because we deal with the public every day. So we put them on a 2-week COVID leave immediately. Fortunately, recently we've been able to escalate the COVID testing so we get our results back in anywhere from 3 to 5 days. We work through the city of Wentzville and the urgent care there. Once we get the negative response back, then we bring those employees back in. So we've been very careful. It's impacted not only our driver group, but has also impacted our customer service and just complete staff. So when March 19th hit, everybody started to work remote. Nobody was in the office. Vince, our GM, was managing drivers the best he could from our remote status. We kept everybody 6 feet apart. We had put everybody in masks, and it's been a struggle, to be honest with you. And I do apologize, and we will get an action plan to Brandy tomorrow. I'm always available. I'll make sure she has my phone number, and I'll make sure that we will clean up the city, and I apologize for what we've done. If you'll allow us 90 days to rectify the problem, come back and meet again and see where we stand.
I think the issue is a lot of our complaints were prior to the COVID issue. And I know I've received complaints from constituents in my ward. And when is it up again, the contract? In December?
December of 2021.
Of 21. Yeah, I think you guys have some work to do to continue operating in the city of Warrenton. The complaints that Brandy has received are just a small number of the ones some of the rest of us have received. So I think, yeah, you guys have some work to do, for sure.
I understand.
Okay.
Can I ask Brandy to put this on the agenda for next meeting so we can discuss the follow-up that you've experienced?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I would like to add, just a second, I spoke to one of your drivers 2 weeks ago, and I just want to commend him on the job he was doing. He was doing an excellent job out there. He was by himself. You know, it was one of those 90-plus degree days with the humidity out there. I did take him a couple cold bottles of water just because he was hustling and doing such a great job. So there are some good guys out there doing some great work, and I commend you for that, and those individuals also. So just want to put that out there for you. Thank you.
Yeah, I would encourage you, this is very serious. Not returning phone calls on a timely manner is totally unacceptable to me. Doing a sloppy job, picking up, can't happen. So I, for one, think we'll discuss this next month, as Alderman Locke said, and hopefully it'll work out. If it doesn't, we certainly will make a decision. All right. Thank you.
That's all I have for you.
Thank you, Brandy. Next item on our agenda is Dana Velasquez, our finance officer.
Turn your mic on.
Okay, Dana.
Sorry, I'm speaking, but I have my mute on. Good evening, Board. So you have a list of claims before you tonight? Claims totaling $175,582.81. Were there any questions related to those claims?
No, they have.
We'll entertain a motion to accept the accounts payable in the amount of $175,582.81.
So moved.
Motion for Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Dyer. Roll call vote.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Crump,
Yes?
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock.
Yes.
Motion carried 4-0.
Item I had for you tonight are our financials for the month of June. And again, these are preliminary financials. We will have additional entries, accruals, things like that that have to happen at year-end, added to these financials before we publish. On these preliminary financials, you see that the general fund revenues are about $110,000 below budget. And that's primarily related to court fees and police fines. So again, we haven't had court for several months, and it's just put off for a few months till we get through the COVID concerns. Also, our franchisee fees are $64,000 below budget. Then many other items are above budget, are pretty close to it. Property tax is within $3,000 of budget. Sales tax across all funds is about 2%, above budget. In the general fund, you see about $25,000 then in sales tax above budget. Permits are about $39,000 above budget. In the general fund operating expenses, $651,000 below budget. And for the whole general fund, personnel cost is about $310 below budget. And as we heard you guys talking before about the police, so at the beginning of the fiscal year, they were experiencing a few vacancies that they've worked really hard to fill throughout the year. So it's good to hear that they're current now. We also had for the year some unused contingency funds, about $100,000, and the balance of those expenses that are below budget are training, supply, maintenance type accounts. When you look at the water and sewer fund, revenues are $340,000 above budget, $161,000 industrial sewer above budget, and $184,000 related to connection fees on the new housing. Operating expenses are about $327 below budget. It includes $82,000 in personnel, $51,000 in electric. Pump repairs are $49,000 below budget, and again an unused contingency of about $100,000. So the balance is just related to supplies and maintenance accounts. So were there any specific questions related to the June preliminary financials?
If we have any idea how much money we may receive due to the COVID, that monies that we applied for to be reimbursed, does anybody have any feel for that yet?
Randy, did you want to take that or you want me?
You can go ahead.
Okay. We received, and I apologize the exact number, a little over $5,000 out of that total that we submitted. So primarily what we initially received was related to the materials that we purchased, the masks, the sanitizers, things like that. I understand that there'll be another outgoing of funds later. They were reserving some for a period of time until things are over, or they believe we may need additional funds later. So things related to some personnel expense and things like that, which was a big majority of our initial claim, were not considered at this time, but they're not ruling it out absolutely in the long run after they see what's needed for other purposes.
I knew we had received the $5,000. I was just wondering if there was any information about whether or not there was any more money that was going to come, because we had, almost $200,000, correct?
Yeah, I think it was like 129.
129? Oh, I thought it was closer to 200,000. Okay, so of that, we've only been able to recoup 5,000. Okay, all right, thanks.
To my understanding, the county has expended 41,000 out of 4.1 million. It's the numbers that I heard, so it appears that there's money there that they may disperse at a later date, hopefully.
Dana, on the franchise miss on the revenue, what is that attributable to? And where do the funds come from?
You know, what I saw the most was related to electric. So, but at the same time that we saw reduced electric cost for this year, it just depends on a variation of temperatures and things like that. You know, hot summer can make a big difference in electric fees. So, again, what I saw was 2 years ago we had quite a spike over the summer, which related in an additional franchise fees collected during that time period. And then when we budgeted last year, we continued with that upturn in revenues, which just didn't happen based on the weather. So, this year we've brought it down a little bit. I think that was just an unusual spike 2 years ago.
So let me ask you a question about the sales tax. I mean, it's great news. We're 2% over what we budgeted. I guess the concern is if the revenue in through the end of the year only was for sales through the end of April, is that correct? Which means May and June, if the economy came down, we may see a dip in the next reporting cycle? Is that your guess?
Well, although we have seen the numbers for sales in the month of May and now in the month of June, we just saw those today. So we are seeing that we are staying at least at budget, if not this last one a little bit above. So, you know, sometimes I say when I look at sales tax, I want to look at a quarter at a time, and not just a month or two at a time. So by the next month, I think we'll have a really good idea, because sometimes there's that fluctuation in the June reporting because the date changes, and not every entity reports in this time frame that allows them to distribute to us. So by the next reporting period, when they pay us in September, we'll be able to feel very comfortable, I think, as to what direction we're going. But what we're seeing right now is looking good. We are at least at budget each month on what we're seeing. So.
Thank you.
I have a question. I've had a few people ask me how, what we anticipated the revenue shortfall because of the pandemic and versus what we're actually seeing. And all I could tell them is looking better than we anticipated, but it looks as though it's much better than we anticipated. Would that be correct?
I think you're correct. I think we were just extremely cautious, but most of our sales here are generated on items that people need continuously. You know, they're not just, you know, some of the bigger mall type places and things that have a lot of things people might use with disposable income. We just don't have those type of sales here. So the type of things that people are purchasing here in Warrenton are things that they continue to need. So we think we're going to see that continue. You know, we certainly have delayed spending somewhat so that we can react if we start to see a different turn. But it's looking very favorable right now.
Would it be correct to say that Rural King's numbers have been better than anticipated, or as good, or where do we stand with them?
I would say at least as good as anticipated, yes.
Thank you.
I think, Gary, the other thing you could share with people is if you look at our capital budgets, you know, we had budgeted $5.4 million in projects, and our expenditures were only, $1 million something. So we have a positive almost $4 million in capital projects. Some of them were on hold, and some of them just didn't get done on time. So that also was an impact of the pandemic on operations, where we didn't feel like we wanted to send people out in the field to address some of those issues that could be put off for a few more months.
Any other questions for Dana? Thank you, Dana. Thank you. We'll move on next. Item number 12, Lisa Kramer, Aquatics Director, a monthly report.
Good evening. This month we continue to run the pool on a member-only basis during the morning hours and allowed members to bring in their guests in the afternoon. Because we were a members-only pretty much facility for the month of June and now July, we have sold another 68 memberships this month to allow people to be able to come and use the facility. Getting ready for a lot of the lifeguards to go back to school, so we are actively looking to hire more staff so that we can continue to keep the pool open the hours that we are able to do that. And we've also started offering some private swim lessons to families that are wanting to get their kids the ability to swim and using our staff one-on-one with them. And that's
think it's interesting to read your report that, you know, the senior passes were in July 379, and even if you go back to February, you know, we're 446. So, you know, we're down, but we're not down significantly when you consider everything that went on. And then the family passes, you know, we're at 86 in July versus 69 in February, so that's even better in February. Realizing, of course, February is not a peak time for swimming, but still, some of those numbers look like we're recovering quite well. And certainly the special program passes has really skyrocketed since we emphasized that, so that's really a good sign. So there's some really positive things, I think, to see on the report.
Yes, and we are focused more on senior programming right now because we can do that in a social distance atmosphere. So we are offering water fitness classes Monday through Friday in the morning and then 2 nights a week in the evening.
I think what's interesting for, you know, we talk about when you build a pool, how do you gear the pool, what are you trying to do with it, you know, emphasis on families, emphasis on this, but we specifically, when we built this, made sure we want to include an emphasis for seniors to be able to use the pool by, you know, being able to walk into it as opposed to going down a ladder or jumping in. And I think what the other interesting number is that the year-to-date or year-end number, the senior passes were 1,874, and the closest other category is just people who walk in at 783. So I think the emphasis on the senior program on the pool really is just showing in those numbers.
Seniors use the pool a lot.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Guy Jeevers, Public Works Director.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. First item I have is my monthly report. We had a water main break on Dogland, one off of Highway U and Wolf Road. We did some curb repair and gutter off of Arlington Way, some ditch work on Middletown Road, and we had one sewer backup on the city. Is there any questions? That's just a little highlight of what we've done. Is there any questions on?
Could you give us an update on the water project or by the water tower over by the high school? Because that equipment sat there for a long time. It's not finished, or I assume it's not finished, but it took a lot longer. Are we close to having that project done?
Yes, we are. The well crane got hit by lightning, so the hole drilled. They couldn't move the truck, so they got it running. Right now, I got an email that they're going to come out and do a pump test. So they're going to drop the pump into the well and make sure we get adequate water and what we're calling for. And after that's done, we'll grab a sample and send it to DNR, and then they'll finish up the electric work inside. But the piping's completed. They got to do the electric work inside, and the well is drilled and ready to go. They'll drop a temporary motor in there, start pumping out, see what our production is, and make sure we make what DNR requires us to have. And then when that's done, then we'll send it to the lab, and they'll approve it and go from there.
Before we move forward, Guy, can you give us any type of we had the problem with the sewer on not on Main Street, but in the alleyway, is that correct? Is there anything you can share with us that?
So we had a sewer backup Monday, and so we went to flush the line, couldn't get the jetter up the line, and it was in the alley behind Madam Voodoo's. So we couldn't get the jetter truck up it, so we went and cambered it, and the main was collapsed at one place. So we started digging and got part of it open, re-cambered the line. Well, first when we started digging, there's two lines there, and one's an abandoned line and the other one isn't. So we had to figure, we didn't know that at the time, so after we broke through it, to run the camera through it, we didn't get no flow, so we went all the way up. It was an abandoned line, so we had to pull back out of that, dig down deeper, and found the main that way. So then we had to break the piece of pipe out, run the camera up, find the breakage from there, and then we got one part fixed, got it to drain, re-cambered it, had another collapse spot, had to pull it back out, re-camber it, fix that, re-camber it. It's 14 feet deep, so it was a job. The only thing that was good is it wasn't 100 degrees out, the humidity wasn't bad. So that's put back together. There's rock in the alley. That's all the repairs have been done on that.
Was that collapse then, you think, by just age? Is that what causes that type of collapse?
So it's clay tile in the alley, and so people's, on the back side of them buildings is what you would call their sewer cleanouts, and it's right almost in the traffic lane where people drive in and go back and forth, and our main collapse is right where their service ties in and goes down into the main, and that was also clay tile, so it just finally deteriorated and collapsed the main.
Thank you, Guy.
Next item I have is the approval for the meter reading software upgrades for Schulte Supply for the amount of $14,940. Budget amount was $17,000. This is a software for when we go out and read our meters. It's a Neptune, so it's a sole vendor.
Any questions? If not, I'll accept a motion to pay to award the meter reading software upgrade to Schulte Supply in the amount of $14,900. $940. Yeah. The sole vendor, the budget amount was $17,000.
So moved.
Second.
There was Alderman Crump made the motion and Alderman Dyer second. Roll call vote.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes. Motion carried 4-0.
Next item I have is approval for engineering service professional from Gonzalez Engineering for the UV disinfection system at the wastewater treatment plant at the cost of $58,000. Budget amount was $58,000. The UVs is going to be requirement from DNR. We need to get this process going, so we'll get a design of what we're going to need, and they'll also consider the upgrades of the plant in the future, so we make sure we get everything in place, so we'll be prepared for that.
Guy, do we have a timeline that we have to meet with DNR to get this done?
We do, but I don't have it in front of me, and we have time, but I don't want to shoot from the hip and tell you exactly when it is, but it is going to be a requirement. Every city is going to be required to do UV.
The only part I didn't understand of the letter was it said, the intent is to construct a UV disinfectant system to provide disinfection from April 1st to September 30th. That's certainly not the length of the system or the timeline of the system. So what are those dates referring to? Do you know?
So there's certain parts of the year that DNR require you to do UV. It's not consistent all the time, so they'll pick out certain periods of time to do the UV. So when they build that, so the idea is when you build that, you can take it, and if we don't have to UV, they'll build a channel to go around it, so we're not using the lights and that to disinfect. So that's a DNR requirement telling you when you have to UV and when you don't, and it's usually the summer months. But it's up to them and what they tell you.
So that's really referring to when the system will be operating on an annual basis until the state changes their mind.
That's correct.
Any more questions, comments? If not, we'll entertain a motion to accept the engineer services proposal from Gonzalez for UV disinfection at the WWTP in the amount of $58,000, which is the amount budgeted.
So moved.
Motion from Alderman Crump, seconded by Alderman Dyer. Roll call vote.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Motion carried 4-0.
Next item I have is a professional engineering service from Gonzalez Engineering for the West Interceptor Phase 2 project. And this is from Fairlane Lift Station to the wastewater treatment plant for the amount of $385,000. Budget amount was $390,000. So this is going to get the process going for easements needed, design, and that. This would be the second phase. The first phase we're in process of doing right now.
So this is for anticipated growth in the north and west side of town. And there is the pipe work going from the Fairlane Lift Station to the sewer plant, correct?
That's correct.
Do we anticipate sometime in the future needing to upgrade the Fairlane Lift Station, or is that part of our 5-year plan, or what's the thinking on that?
So that'll be taken in consideration. When they built the lift station originally, they set it up for 3 pumps and 2 storm pumps. So with them engineering it and looking at it, we feel that's going to be adequate. The only thing that might be changed is some controls, some adjusting of some pumps.
Okay.
But a rebuild of a whole new lift station won't be needed unless they see something that's out of the ordinary. But when we talked about it originally, it was upgrading maybe the pumps or changing the storing pumps into domestic pumps. And that's going to include a force main from the lift station to the top of the hill and then all the way down to the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, we'll accept a motion to approve the engineering services proposed from Gonzalez for the West Interceptor Phase 2 project area in the amount of $385,000, budget being $390,000. Is there a motion to accept that?
So moved.
Second.
Alderman Dyer made the motion to approve the engineering services proposal from Gonzalez for West Interceptor Phase 2 project, amount $385,000, seconded by Alderman Dyer. Roll call vote.
I think Alderman Ock made the motion,
Made the motion and,
seconded by Alderman Dyer.
yes.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Yes.
Next item is adjournment. We need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Alderman Dyer, and seconded by
Second.
Alderman Crump. All those in favor say aye. Opposed?